Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dee. Hello. This will be my second upload of the day, if I'm timing this right. So why not just get straight into it? I've pretty much said all I've needed to say in my previous video. This is the company I work for, has a wonderful Christmas tradition. At my company's annual Christmas party, there's always a table full of presents. One of the presents is extra special. We just don't know which one. At this year's party, there were about 300 employees gathered in the event space on the first floor, far below the offices and boardrooms on the upper floors where the company typically does business. We'd all been led inside and instructed to pick one of the nicely wrapped gifts off the table. This was no different from the year before, or any of the years before that. I selected one at random. There was no point in trying to figure out which box held which gift, so I just grabbed something from the middle of the table. Last year, I unwrapped my gift to find a voucher for an all-expenses-paid ski vacation to Colorado. My wife, kids, and I had a great time. Another such gift would be greatly appreciated. Our CEO, Mr. Jackson, was abnormally cheerful, but I suppose that's just the Christmas brandy kicking in. As the happy holiday banter flittered across the room, he stood on a platform and held up his arms to silence the crowd, and then waited for the excited chatter to recede. It was typical for him to place such high priority on brevity, and today it was no different. Well, we've had another very successful year, he said, as drunken applause and enthusiastic hoots and hollers erupted from the crowd. He paused a moment to let everyone quiet down, though the smile on his face showed that he was enjoying the festive atmosphere. Sales are up 125% over last year, he continued. Complaints are down to historically low levels. It's safe to say that this year we've been firing on all cylinders. And Newsweek even named us among the top 50 most ethical companies in the United States. We applauded loudly at that. Mr. Jackson took a second to soak in all the adulation, and then continued as he looked out into the crowd. And while we owe most of our success to you, the employee, let's not forget the good luck and fortune that's granted upon us each year by our benefactor. The clapping continued. I looked around the room. The long-term employees seemed to be the happiest, and, in fact, even most of the new employees seemed pretty happy as well. There were, however, a couple of first-year employees who appeared to be a bit fidgety. And now, let's get to the reason why we're all here, Mr. Jackson said. The gifts! I hope you all find enjoyment from them. Mr. Jackson stepped down from the platform as we all looked down at the boxes in our hands. The tradition in the company is that the lower-level employees start opening their gifts first, followed by the supervisors, and then the managers. Even Mr. Jackson gets a gift he must open. The sounds of wrapping paper being ripped from the boxes spread around the room as the employees anxiously tore into their gifts. Next to me, a young first-year sales associate opened his box. I saw a huge smile of relief spread across his face as he reached inside and pulled out a brand new Rolex Explorer. Wow, what a nice watch, I said to him. He gave a big, goofy smile as he slipped it onto his wrist. Right across from me, I watched another newbie pull out a key to a brand new Mercedes. Nice! I shouted at her. She looked around excitedly. It'll be parked out front, I told her. I knew this from experience, since I too was gifted a car several years ago. Soon, all the lower-level employees had opened their gifts, and the supervisor started in on theirs. I began to carefully unwrap mine. I'll admit, at the moment I was scared. I spent my entire year feeling great, but every year those few seconds I spend opening my gift seem like they go on and on and on for an hour. As I lifted the lid from the box, I was happy to find a stack of cash inside. Can't go wrong with cash, I thought. I flipped through the stack to get a quick estimate of its value. It was probably about $5,000. It was right about then that I had heard someone scream. I turned around to see Shirley, one of my fellow supervisors, holding an empty box in one hand, and in the other hand, she held the plain rock she'd just pulled out of it. "No!" she said. This isn't the box I wanted! I wanted to get that one over there!" She dropped her box and pointed to the lady who had been gifted the Mercedes. But she grabbed it before I could get it!" People around her shook their heads in disappointment. "Shirley," I said in a low tone, "try to be a little more dignified." Shirley dropped the rock. It clattered to the ground as those around her began to step back slowly. No! I won't be more dignified! This isn't fair! I have to admit, I was a bit disappointed with Shirley's reaction. She'd worked there long enough to know better than to pitch a fit. Most people who end up with the rock accept the situation graciously, and some even give a brief thank you speech while they're still able. Shirley, she was still complaining as she was jerked into the air by some unseen force. She levitated a few feet off the ground as her body began to smolder. Smoke spilled out of her neckline of her blouse. Her hair began singeing at its tips, and then burned all the way down to her scalp. Her eyes burst open, splatting vitrea over her nearby co-workers. Dark smoke began spewing from her mouth as her body slowly turned into ash, with the effect starting at her feet and working its way up to her head. After a long minute, Shirley was no more than a pile of slag on the ground. I'm going to miss Shirley. It's true that she didn't handle herself in a dignified manner when it mattered most, but she was a friendly coworker and damn good at her job. However, success and the finer things that accompany it don't come without some sort of sacrifice, and a sacrifice must be given every year. For those of you worried about Shirley, don't be. Her husband and children will be well compensated for their loss. After all, the company is incredibly successful and has plenty of money to throw around. And with our powerful benefactor continuing to look out for us, we're destined to have another banner year. Anyway, for anyone looking for a job, we have an opening at the supervisory level. Prior supervisory experience is helpful, but not absolutely essential. The job offers fantastic compensation, an unheard of benefits package, year-long perks, and of course, an absolutely killer annual Christmas party, which is not to be missed. And that was The Company I Work For Has a Wonderful Christmas Tradition, written by Creepy Thomas O. on the Creepypasta Wiki. I do realize that I haven't been giving proper credits to the writers of these stories, as it's not normally given due to the, nature of creepypastas. They're simply spread around, and credits are never given where credits are deserved. Though, this will be changing from now on, as I, from now on, will be attempting to find the credits of the authors, and including them in the outro of my video, because, of course, everyone deserves their due credit where credit is due. Thank you, Creepy Thomas O., for writing this wonderful story. And to you, dear listener, thank you for making it this far in the video. We will have some short bloopers, and then an outro. Thank you once again. Our CEO, Mr. Jackson? We'd all been led inside and instructed to pick one of the nicely wrapped